Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers. I am your instructor for Annie 150, and this is Module 2. And we are now back in Maya. We want to bring the crate in, open it up, and we want to get this textures in, and I want to show you some new features of Maya 2020, which are really cool. So the whole idea about this section of the project is that we are going to add the textures, show you how to add UDIM textures back on, and show you how simple it is to, there's a little work, but show you how simple it is to get everything looking good. Take you through the process. And again, if you get stuck or messed up, pause the video, rewind it, and start over again. You can scrub the time slider on the video, move it back, and pause it and start it. You can actually on the bottom right hand corner of the video, if you click on, trying to think of I don't have it open, but if you click on one of those little buttons, you can make the video go twice as slow if you'd like to. So there's lots of options for you when you're watching videos and trying to follow. Anyway, do the best you can. You guys are all doing great, and should be proud of the work that you're doing, just getting started out. And here's my triangulated object that I had to do to get the textures to bake properly, but I'm not going to use this. It's ugly to look at, and when you're showing off your work, you really don't want to show that. Okay, messy, triangulated mesh. So we want to go back to the mesh that wasn't triangulated. So we want to go back to our low poly. Nope, that's not messing with a small one. There you go. Our low poly. Okay, and we want to make sure that we delete by type history and freeze transformations on this before we do anything. So I'm going to go to poly modeling up here on the shelf, and in poly modeling we've got center pivot right here. We've got delete by type history and freeze transformations. Okay, we've also got some other tools I want to talk to you about. We got the combine, and we've got the extract, and we have the mirror tool up here. Okay, the only problem is when you click on it, I prefer to go to into these tools like this, because if you don't, you don't have the option, and this is what the option box is all about. Whenever you see this little box, that means you have options that you can change attributes, and those attributes can make a huge difference on how it's going to act. Okay, all right. So we'll get more into modeling in the next module, module 3, because module 3 we're going to really hit most of those tools in Maya. The crate, I just wanted to get you going. It was a big project. You learned a ton, and now we're finishing it up, and we're going to make this look really cool. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and get it and go in here. And we are going to add textures to this box. So let's go ahead and delete by type history and freeze transformations. And let's go ahead and assign a material. So I'm going to right click over the object, make sure it's highlighted, make sure it's on, it's in object mode. And I'm right clicking over it. I'm going to go down to assign new material. And I'm going to go to Arnold. Okay. And I'm going to click on shader, and I'm going to go down where it says AI standard surface. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you more, and we'll talk more about the actual material itself. So it's an AI standard surface material, and this material is kind of like it's got everything you need. It's got the specular, it's got reflection, it's kind of like the blend if you've ever used Maya. But Arnold, they call it the AI standard surface. It's just a standard surface that pretty much can mimic almost 99% of everything you see in the real world. As far as materials go, you can actually change it that much. It's so versatile. So when you look at the rest of them, we'll talk about those too, but like if we do a new assign new material and you look at the rest of them, there's quite a few here. There's some specialty ones, okay, and that's what they are, right? They're just specialty shaders. They're specialty shaders. They're kind of really good at one thing, but the AI standard service, man, it can do 99% of your stuff, and I always go to that first. And then if I find myself, ooh, I need to have a specialty, then I can go to any one of these and use those, and we'll talk more about those and go through those one by one just to kind of give you an idea. And this will be farther along into our modules. So AI standard surface, we already got that done, and we want to rename it. So go up into, now if you don't see the attribute editor, that's what it's called, do a Control A, because it'll go back forth. Control A will go back and forth between your channel box and your layer your channel box and layer editor and your attribute editor. So Control A. Okay? So if you don't see that, alright, so weight, what does that mean? Well, the base means the color. So our base is our color, and that color can also mean diffuse or albedo. So they got some different names for this. So color, diffuse, albedo. So weight is the strength. Okay? So if I bring it down, you can see that turns black. If I turn it up, we get the full range of color. Okay? And then of course you have your color. What color would you like it? You can start with a basic color. Okay? Red, green, blue, or you can do secondary colors and tertiary colors. So it's just, and then you got this little wheel here, which is really cool, which I use all the time, that will get you started with colors. Okay? And of course, you can just click on that wheel and just kind of go around and around. And so we're going to go beyond just adding a color. So let's go back to just plain white. We're going to add a texture map. Okay, so, but if you're just going to use colors and you have an idea that, or you have a cartoon, or you have a 3D that you want to turn into a 2D cartoon, then you probably be using colors and solid shades. Diffuse roughness. All right, that basically will work with specular. Diffuse roughness, that's kind of how the color reacts when the light shines on it. It's not like the specular though. But diffuse roughness kind of roughs up the surface a little bit to kind of make it look like a more chalky. That's the best way to describe it. And then metalness, okay? Metalness is basically makes your object look like metal. Okay, I mean it is extremely reflective. Okay, so metalness, what happens when you turn it all the way up? Roughness goes away. Okay, that means it's totally taken over. All right, so let's bring that back down again. Specular weight, that's how much specularity you have, and specularity has to do with the shininess on your object. Again, there's a video in Module 2 that takes you through the textures and what they do. But here's the channels. Okay? These are the channels that you'll be using. So the weight controls the amount, right? And then the color, what color is the specularity going to be? So that hot spot that you see reflecting off of a piece of metal or glass or a shiny object, that's this. That's the specular color. And you can change that color to any color you want. If you notice car paint, sometimes the specularity is white, but sometimes it reflects the color of the car paint itself. So roughness is the same kind of thing. The higher you go, the more roughness and more spread out it's going to be, and that's pretty common, you know. Um, so at 0, you're not going to get anything. Now, if you turn it up above 0, you're going to get a very fine spread. The higher you go, the more the the light spot will spread out. IOR, okay. IOR is index of refraction. So 1, okay, 1 is air, 0 is vacuum, okay. So usually I keep it at 1, and if I need index of refraction, now that is when light hits an object, and if it's transparent, it bends. It depends on how thick the glass is, and that thickness and the way the glass is created and the materials it's made from, the thickness, all that contributes to the index of refraction. So when you look in an aquarium, it looks like a magnifying glass. When you stick your hand in it, it gets bigger. This is IOR, index of refraction. So anything above, let's say 1.33, is water. Okay? All right? So, and then let's see, quartz is something like 1.45 to 1.5. And then anisotropy. Anisotropy is like when it depends on how it affects the way the specularity is bent and kind of stretched out. And that has to do with when you look at metal or a CD disc. When you turn it upside down, you look at it in the light, it spreads that specularity across. That's anisotropy. And then rotation, you can rotate that anisotropy any way you want. And I'm going to get into the rest of these, but those are the main ones. The last one, we'll get into the other ones here. But this is the most important one. These are the most important ones I'm talking about right now. This is where all our maps are going to get into, is our geometry. So we've got geometry and we've got opacity here. So if you wondered where it is, a weird place. Just remember geometry for bump mapping. That's bump mapping, normal mapping, and normal space and world space. This is opacity. That has to do with is it see-through, right? Opacity is all the way down. That means you can see right through it. And then turn it all the way up. It's opaque. And you can create channels, create files and bitmaps for those. And then the normal map, this is where the normal map goes. Okay? So again, when we go up, we're going to put the color map in the color channel. We're going to put the metalness map into the metalness channel. We're going to put the roughness map into the roughness channel. And we're going to put the bump mapping into the bump mapping channel. So I hope that was clear. I know this is only like 1, 2, 3 things I've actually covered, and there's a whole bunch more. And I'll lightly cover it really quick. Transmission is see-through. Like if you have a leaf and you look up to the sun, you can see the sun through the leaf. That's transmission. Subsurface, that is subsurface scattering. Or SSS, where the light penetrates your skin and it shows the underlying, because your skin is really transparent. Okay, and the color you get from, I don't want to be gross or anything, but it's what's underneath, the blood and the muscles and the tendons and all that stuff. So that's where your skin gets its color, because otherwise your skin is white. Okay. Coat, that's like clear coat on a car. If you spray something with a very waxy or very shiny coat, that's coat. Sheen is that if you got coat and sheen together, that causes a really cool thing to happen. It's kind of like, and with IOR together, you can create some really beautiful like coats of paint, like car paint. And emission has to do with glowing effects. So if you want something to glow, you can go into emission. You can create emission maps too as well. And thin film, same thing. You can put like a thin film on an object and make it look oily. And of course, geometry, we know what that is. So that's just kind of just real quick. I'm going to go deep into those later. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so you might have to set your project, if you haven't set your project, just to tell it where your directory is. And okay, so select your object, and that should come up. If you don't turn it on, if you don't click on it, you won't see anything over here. So don't worry, it's still working, but you just got to click on your object. All right, so let's go right into color. So we're not going to go into the weight. Remember, that's not where you put it. Right next to color, click on the option box. Okay. We're going to click on 2D textures. We're not going to do 3D texture. We're going to talk more about these later. Don't worry about that. And we're going to click on File because we want to actually find a file for this. Filter type, I always turn that off. And under image name, this is where we need to find the texture. So click on the little folder. And it's going to be in your source images folder. If it doesn't come up right away, you need to find where your textures are. And I always told you to make sure you put it in source images. Make sure you know where your files are. And I helped you with the project, creating a new project, and renaming your project, and then it'll create all the folders for you. If you still have questions about that, please email me, and I'll take you through it. So I'm looking for my images that I baked in Substance Painter, and they'll be basically named what your name of your file is. So create low poly try finish, and then you can see 1001. That's telling me that that's the UDOM code. Okay, so that's base color. Okay, so that goes in there, that first one. I'm going to click open. Okay, and that will pop it in here. And I can't see it in here. The sample's not working. So here's my color. That's in there. Alright, so the next thing I do is UV tiling mode. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and click on that. And you want to click on UDIM, U-D-I-M. Click on that. Okay. And then you'll get this generate preview. Oh my gosh, it's freaking out. But it says it found 7 tiles, and that's correct. I have 7 tiles, so that's great. So click on generate preview, and that's the best you can do. That's okay, just don't worry about it. And we're going to go to color space, okay, and we're going to click on the color should be sRGB. I'm sorry, color should be sRGB, and that's the only one. The rest of them will be RAR. Okay, so sRGB for the color map, and then I'm going to open up color balance. Okay, now some of these will have alpha as luminance on, but this one does not. Okay, so off for filter. Grab your color map. It's got to be your color, right? It's going to say color on it, and then you tell it what tiling mode it's going to be, and then you click on generate preview. Okay, right. Okay, so we're good to go. Okay, so now we're going to go out. So we've got these little arrows with these boxes. Okay. Now I can click on the arrow and go back where I was, or if I get stuck, right? If I get stuck and I don't know where I'm at, I can't get out, just click off, click on the object again, click on AI standard surface, and we probably shouldn't rename this. Let's go ahead and rename that. And that's at the top here. Okay. Now, if you have a lot of history, you'll have to use that little arrow key on the corner. Okay. If you have a lot of history here, you have to use, there's a little arrow. Now the reason why I have you delete the history is so you don't have to click on the arrow. So delete your history and you won't have to do that. It'll come right up. So I'm going to call this SciFi crate, all one word. And then underscore TX. Now one thing about Maya I need you to know is that you shouldn't put spaces in between your letters. Okay, always underscore. Or just name it all one word. That's even better. Okay. So I realized that I can do underscores, but that's it. Okay. All right. So we got a color in. Next one is metalness. So let's click on that one. Click on textures, 2D textures, and click on file, and we'll do the same thing. Okay. Filter type off. Image name. Scroll down. I already know where it is. And I'm going to go to the same one. It says 1001. I want this one's color, height, metallic. There we go. There's our metallic map. And it's the same thing as metalness. So you'll see those that type of lingo being used, metalness, metallic. And we'll click open. And then we're going to go into the UV tiling. Yes. And click on Udemy Mari. And we will click on, and this one, color space needs to be raw. Okay, now it's going to give me this warning down here, but just ignore that. Okay, and with this one, we need to make sure alpha is luminance is on. Okay, alpha is luminance is on that. Okay, so I'll take you through it again. Off on filter type, find your metallic map, Udemy Mari, click on generate preview, and then color space is raw, and then this one you need to check mark alpha is luminance. Okay, that is good. Next one, roughness. Okay, roughness goes in the roughness channel. Click on that, 2D textures, file, off, find your file. And we're looking for right in the same one, roughness. Okay. Open. There we go. Great. And then UV tiling, and then go to Udemy Mari. Same thing. You want to click on generate preview. At least give it a try. And then this one is raw. Okay. Same warning. It's okay. And then scroll down, and we're going to click alpha is luminance. Perfect. So far, so good. Okay. And we're going to click out of this box, okay? And then we're going to go down. We got one more to do. Bump mapping. Click on this guy right here. And 2D textures, file, same thing. And this we got a new one here. Okay, check this out. We got a winner. We've got a bump, tangent space normals, object space normals. Right, tangent space normals is what when you see the blue background, almost looks like it's purple, and then the rainbow colors. Tangent space normals, that's a normal map. Almost looks like it's purple. Object space normals, that's the rainbow one. That's the one. It's kind of it's world space too. Some people call it world space, object space. Tangent space normals, and then bump. So I'm going to go to tangent space normals. Okay. All right. So the way you can fiddle with this is you've got flip R channel, red channel, flip green channel. So if it doesn't look quite right, you can turn one of these off and render, turn the other one off and render, and then or turn both of them off and render. I usually don't mess with this, but if you somehow the normal map gets flipped somehow, this is how you can change it. So if that does happen, you can kind of experiment with those too. All right, I'm going to leave those on. All right, so I just want to show you where those were. So I'm going to go into this bump value, okay, and go to filter type off, image name, and we're going to scroll down to, where are we? Normal, right there. 101 normal. Okay, and you can see it. Normal map's right there. Now you don't see all the other ones. Remember, this is a Udemy tile. Okay, the magic's coming, guys. The magic's coming. You're probably wondering when the magic's going to start. Well, it's going to start. So next to UV tiling mode, go to Udemy Mari and give it a try. Click on generate preview. I always try. And then we're going to do raw. It's going to give us a little warning. And then scroll down. We don't want alpha is luminance on normal maps. Okay, so let's go through it again. So filter type, this is the normal map. Filter type off. image name, you got to find your normal map, and UDIM, right? UV tiling mode, UDIM, and then generate preview, color space is raw, and with this one it is no. Alpha is luminous, so don't select that. Okay, cool. So you're all done. Alright, so we don't see anything. It's all there, it's all ready to go. You can see that they're all plugged in, but I just don't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Renderer, Viewport, click on Viewport, and again I'm going to do that again, Renderer. This is in your viewport. Now it's funny, we have a main menu bar for the entire software, and then we have a panel, a viewport panel render main menu bar, believe it or not, and Renderer Viewport 2, and you click on the option box. Okay, open this up a little bit. Okay, and you can go into Generate All UV Tile Preview Textures. So click on that. Give it a second. Okay, I'm going to click on Reload All Textures, and I'm going to do Generate All UV Tile Preview Textures again. Give it a second. It's what's happening is it's reloading everything. Okay, reloading everything. I don't need to change anything else. Okay, alright. Alright, so let's try it again. Regenerate all UV preview textures, and then close. That's all you can do. And then 5 is smooth shade, and then 6 is texture. Oh, look at that. Now, this is the first time I've actually seen the texture, and it finally prompted, but before it was just black. Now, if it's just black for you, no worries. This is the first time I've seen it. I'm pretty surprised, to be honest with you. It doesn't look that great anyway. So there's a couple things we're going to do. So before we get started with that, we're about run into 30 minutes with this, and I'm happy that we got this far. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one last thing. Now you're wondering, how did it do that? Well, in Substance Painter, when we saved it as an Arnold material, Arnold 5 material, when we were exporting our textures, that's where all the magic was, because it sees the tiles, and if you go in here and it sees those tiles, and it sees the tiles right here, it says 7 tiles found, you know you did good. You know it found them. And then you did everything that I asked you to do, and then you went into the renderer, and what happened was when I clicked on that, don't forget that part. This part is essential once you get everything done. Okay, reload all textures, regenerate all UV tile preview textures. I did that a couple times. It finally clicked. It takes a while. It has to load all those textures, and then close. So all you had to do was set up one set, and then it pulled the rest of them in because it's UDIMs. So it saved you a lot of time. Okay, so we're going to go into UV editor, and you can see all my textures. Look at this right there. They're all right here, right there. They're low resolution, you know, but that's okay. This is our first bake. Our first texture, yeah, it turned out pretty cool. I'm very happy with that. Very cool. Alright, so you know it's there. Everything's good. So what I want you to do is let's go ahead and save what we have so far. Okay? Now I know we have to do our props yet, so I'm not too worried about that. I figured you guys can lay out those UVs, and I'm not going to have instructional videos for that. You can lay out the UVs with the UDIMs, and if you have to follow the other video tutorials that you went through with this, you have to do that. That's fine, but I'm not going to lay out UVs for that and set those UDIM tiles up. I think you guys can figure that stuff out. Now, if you have questions or concerns or anything like that, let me know. But I'm going to see if you guys can do that yourself. And then, you know, the objective of exporting it out, you know, and getting them imported in, Again, I've got the tutorials you guys can watch. Okay, so I've even got beginner tutorials on how to UV map just basic objects. So if you have a cylinder, how do you UV map a cylinder? So I've got those videos that you've already watched on top of everything else, and you should be good to go. If you still have questions and problems, you always email me. Let me know. Just ask the question. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and get things lit up in here. And let's face the Z axes, and we'll see you in a little bit.